Our theme this month is Seeds of Freedom, and the topic today is continuing with opening new doors. Those of you who were here last week will remember that we began the series by balancing out the experiences of our lives from last year, like the accountant does with the books of a business, or maybe you do this with your family, that's a possibility, in order to bring the old year to a close and to begin the new year with order. So last week we spent some time reflecting on the past in order to do three things. First of all, to give ourselves a different perspective on our present situation, or perhaps to become more conscious of happy memories and of the sweetness that lies within them. And, or a third possible positive aspect of claiming ownership in what's in our past was to decide to dare to look at our memories, to call them by name, to explore the dynamics of them, and maybe to decide to learn from them and to move on. So for those of you who weren't able to be here, we did an exercise we called the burning bowl, where we actually write on a piece of paper things that we're pal with, we're done. We've had them in our lives, and now it's time to release them and to move on to something different. So we had the opportunity to write those things down, each one on a separate piece of paper, if indeed there was more than one, to put them into the bowl, and then we set fire to it outside so that we could watch those gradually turn to ash and go back to what they began as, which was nothing more than dust to dust. So, and several of you have commented to me over the week, that's a really freeing experience. That feels good. To just let go of some things that perhaps we've been carrying with us that no longer serve us. There are many things in our past that do serve us, things that we want to bring into the present moment and to enjoy or to enhance or at least to acknowledge. There are other things that we're done with and they're done with us. So this was that experience. Today, as I promised last week, as we continue to explore a positive approach to the new year, is to interact with the present and to imagine the future. Some of you may have taken some time this last week to give those two things some thought in your own life, interacting with the present and imagining the future. At the core of Ernest Holmes' gift to us as students of the science of mind is the very clear message to come fully present. Come fully present. And by that he meant stay in this present moment. Be alert to how it's unfolding and claim ownership of it in our own lives. Always, Holmes reminds us, we have the power, the options, and the ability to direct the moments of our own lives. We've been gifted with these incredible tools that we call our mind, our soul, or in science of mind, you hear us refer to it as our essence, along with sight and hearing and touch and feeling and desire, and on the list goes of the qualities of being that exist within each of us. In fact, every quality known to spirit exists within that which it creates, and that would be you and me, along with a lot of other things. What I'm talking about is the awareness of bringing to the surface those qualities that exist within us, to be able to maximize those in our own lives. So when we mindfully observe, and the examples this morning were so perfect, when we mindfully observe what's unfolding in our present moments, we can begin to see the fruits of our work mentally and spiritually from our past moments. Kathy Lee Crosby, in her book, Let the Magic Begin, expressed it this way. She said, the gift is to live day by day, paying attention to the so-called coincidences of our lives, following them and learning from them so that we can bring them more and more into our life. Of course, we recognize that the word coincidence is in quotes, since we know there are no such things, that this is simply spirit working on that invisible plane to help us awaken and bring into our lives the very highest good. Coinciding is wonderful. It's like our thinking is coinciding and expressing. So that whether it's considered materialistic or it's in the realm of thought processes, there is that coming together, that bringing together, that melding that enables us to move forward in a harmonious way. And isn't it so much easier when we pay attention? When we stop resisting what we think is strange or unusual and begin to embrace what's new and exciting. Here's an idea. Become a student of the actions and the experiences of your life. Follow the unfolding of these moments of awareness. Observe their frequency and whether there's a theme to them. It actually isn't a whether. And look for the theme in them because it's there. So begin to notice the patterns of your present moments. Not as a critic, but as one who seeks to learn and grow and to enjoy the ride. Learn to recognize what repeats itself and why. Gerald Jampolsky says it this way: to be fully alive is to be forever a student of life, to have an unquenchable thirst for its knowledge and its wonder. The more willing we are to observe and to evaluate our present moments as the result of our past ones, the more quickly we begin to change those behaviors that no longer support our intentions and our dreams. Now let's talk about how the present moments prepare us for what's next by imagining the future. I love to do this. This is one of my favorite exercises. It's not all Disney hype when we say a dream is a wish your heart makes. Even as I say those words, the image of the castle comes into my mind's eye. Whether you're talking about Disneyland or Disney World or now Disney Hawaii, Disney Paris, Disney Tokyo, somewhere there is always that castle. So begin by imagining, or begin your imagining of your future by starting at your heart level. What is it you really, really, really want to experience about yourself in the coming year? Always start with yourself, because it's always from the inside out. It's not what's out there. It's what's in you that you put forth to attract to you what supports what's within you as a desire, as an intention. You could put it this way. What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do when you grow up? How do you want to be? How do you want to act when you grow up? When was the last time you asked yourself those questions? What do I want to do or be when I grow up? You know, it sounds kind of silly, but we are always growing. And in Science of Mind, we believe we are growing upward and outward and onward. So to say I'm still growing up isn't quite as far-fetched as it sounds now, or as silly, does it? And then begin to act as if it's so. Holmes said one time, act as if it is, and it will be. You begin to align your thinking. What happens when you begin to align your thinking? You begin to align your actions to support your thinking. And every part of your being, that which is unseen and that which is seen, begins to fall into alignment as well. So coming into alignment is coming into harmony, coming into good order. And you frequently hear me say that order and harmony are the basics of the universe. Were it not for harmony and order in the universe, you'd have fallen off this planet a long time ago. This planet would have been blown into oblivion a long time ago. And when the astronauts left the Earth to go out into space, they'd still be on their way out somewhere. So you see, there is order and harmony that we don't even begin to understand, but that we are a product of, and we are a user of, in every moment of every day of our lives. So when we begin to recognize that, then we also realize that that is at our disposal. We don't have to create order and harmony in our lives. Just acknowledge it. And it begins to come into expression. When we do the lighting of the candles of faith on Sunday morning, one of the reasons I use the same wording every Sunday is because of what these various spiritual practices express. Let me just read those to you. Harmony, equilibrium, the Christ consciousness, the path of love, primal spirituality, submission to the will of God, the path of unity and peace, the path of compassion, knowledge, action, devotion, living by sacred law. Every one of those is being imprinted on our minds every time we hear them. There is nothing in there that can harm you. It can only grow you. It can only expand your thinking. And because there are, 8 different persuasions listed here, that's an expansion in mind for many of us, far beyond what we have previously experienced, in terms of realizing that in every spiritual belief system, there is goodness. It may be different than what we're used to. It may express differently than what we're familiar with. But there is value in it, and we begin to see the commonality of it. And to recognize that we are all created out of that same life force, life energy, to go in many paths, but to express that creative energy and that creator in some way. So beginning to imagine ourselves on a bigger stage, if you will, in terms of our belief in ourselves and our belief in our ability to express. And as always, Holmes would say, and to affirm it. Act as if it is, and it will be. Every day I affirm, today I am better than yesterday. And tomorrow, better than today. You see, that's imagining the future in a very positive way. So that each day, something more, something better, something greater, something broader is coming into my awareness. And I expect that to happen. I expect it. I expect you to expect it. Because it's happening. If it's not happening in my life or in your life, it's because we're not paying attention. It's going, it keeps coming. Now that works both ways, doesn't it? When I am negative, it works the same way. I can attract negativity to me in a New York minute. Why does it take so much longer to attract positive? Well, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't take any longer. It's my powers of recognition that are the difference. So if I'm recognizing the negative more quickly than I'm recognizing the positive, I need to do some positive affirmations. I am positive. I expect to be treated in a positive way. I look for it. I accept it. Those are pretty simple affirmations. You can walk around and mumble those to yourself incessantly. You can do that without closing your eyes when you drive. During commercials, if you're a TV watcher, during commercials, you can speak affirmations. You mute them and you activate you and speak your affirmations. I want to tell you the big empty box story. A couple of you have heard this story before. Me too. And I love it every time I hear it. It's the story of a 4-year-old boy who at Christmas time, of all the plethora of presents and gifts that he got, was the most intrigued with a great big empty box that one of those gifts had come in. Great big empty box. And after Christmas, guess what he played with more than anything else? The great big empty box. His parents were ready to put it out on the trash heap for the trash man to pick up, and he was insistent, no, I have to have this. This is my box. And they said, well, what do you need this box for? He said, it's my boat. It's my spaceship. It's a dungeon. It's my command center. It's my special present. I need it. So on television one day, as the new year approached, he heard someone talking about what would the new year bring. And he said to his mother, and I need to keep New Year's in my box. Let him have the box. So then she got to thinking about it. You know, what would she do if she had an empty box? What would she put in it? So the more she thought about that, first she started with general topics that she would put in her box. But then she got more specific. She began to categorize things for herself, but also things for others. Volunteer work that she could do. A makeover for herself that she hadn't had in many, many years. To start cooking again, the kinds of things that she really enjoyed, the baking and the making of special things. Things like that. So finally, she made a list. The things for herself on one side and the things for others on the other side. Guess where she put it? She put it in an empty box. And she said all year long, once each week, she would go back to her box and look at her list and refer to it to remind herself of what she had thought about. And she said by the end of the year, she had never had so many experiences of love and friendship and such a feeling of spiritual connection. So she began doing this each year. And the year her son was 9, she said he and her husband, his dad, spent a lot of time before Christmas in the garage at the workshop bench with some project they were working on. And sure enough, under the tree that year was a beautiful handmade cedar box. On the hinge was a brass plaque that said, "To keep New Year's in." And it was for her. So you see, it's worth it to take time to dream, to imagine, to image, if you will, to visualize. Maybe you'd like to have a box to keep that in, because it's always where you can find it, isn't it? And you can make that readily available with a list or with trinkets, with representations of your intentions, and then to affirm what those intentions are. To be expectant that they unfold. One of the things I would put on my list is I will never be surprised again when something wonderful unfolds in my life. I will never ask myself again, where did that come from? I will always remind myself that I am cause to my own effect. I love that expression. I can't honestly say that the first time I heard it, I liked it. I am cause to my own effect. But as your life changes through living this philosophy, you become more and more thrilled with the fact that you are cause to your own effect. And to practice that knowingly, affirming that and expecting that on a daily basis. So experience what it is you want to have. Visualize it. Describe it. Do the work. Dream it. Close your eyes and see it. Like I see that castle. I could walk right up to the door of it right now. See it, believe it. And then be open to the ways and means by which the things you are envisioning and intending come to pass. Open those channels. You don't have to determine what those details are. Your job is to be clear about the outcome. And the universe rushes in with ideas you never thought of. Maybe nobody ever thought of to accomplish that. Look how far civilization has come in that regard since the dawn of recorded history. I always use my father as the example. You've heard this so many times. My father was alive when the Wright brothers flew an airplane for the first time at Kitty Hawk. My father was alive the day Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon. One lifetime. We went from, 20 feet off the ground? He's giving me chicken skin. 20 feet off the ground to the moon and walked on it in one lifetime. Now, compare yourself with that and realize you got a lot of room within which to work, don't you? You got a lot of opportunities, most of which we haven't even thought of before. God's not through with ideas. It's an infinite flow. expanding all the time. Every time you raise your level of consciousness, you raise the consciousness of God's expression right here, right now. Not a burden. Gosh, it's a gift. It's a wonderful gift. So remember the quote from last week, Marcel Proust. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in seeing with new eyes. So you have the option to see your life with new eyes anytime you choose. In this new year, 2016, we're made new by our conscious choices in the areas of our lives that we choose. So I invite you to take some time to grant yourself the right and the privilege of letting go of what no longer serves you in a positive and life-affirming way. I invite you to bless the new spaces awaiting your new ideas for the future, as well as the present. Go see if you can find an empty box in the cupboard, in the garage, or behind the closest market. Get yourself an empty box. Let your sight be made new by Spirit in you. And as you do, you'll see new opportunities. You'll see new possibilities. You'll see them for yourself as you experience a truly new year. And so it is. Thank you.